views and opinions of this program are those of its host and
90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown in studio today for another program.
Yes, sir.
Welcome everyone. Man, it's a beautiful, beautiful Saturday here in Kansas City for October, really for any weekend. It's beautiful weather. So, man, it's been nice to be outside today. Don't know how many more days of this kind of weather we're going to have, so I hope everyone has been out there enjoying it. If you're out there, hope you're having a great, great Saturday. If you are listening to us on kkfi.org, wherever you are at, if you're in Topeka, any of the surrounding areas, want to welcome you to the program as well. And if you are listening to us online, wherever you are at in the nation, hope you're having a great weekend. Here in October, lots going on here in Kansas City. You had the opportunity to participate in the Heartland Book Festival that's taking place today. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to delve into the role of media with what is going on with this administration and what seems to be very full-throated attack on any sort of critical media around what the administration is doing on any of these fronts. And we look at what the FCC is doing, and him talking about pulling people's licensing for unfavorable coverage. We're going to delve into the role of media and trying to cover this administration, and also the role of what community radio and what that looks like, and supporting community radio and what community radio's responsibility is in this equation, because we definitely are at a code red relative to what is going on. And so we want to try to look at some solutions and things that we can kind of do as a community to kind of fight back against really what is taking place. And so we're going to delve into that on this program as well. And it just so happens to be Banned Book Week. October 5th through October 11th is Banned Book Week. And, we kind of talked about this the other day, and we're not going to go over, there was a list of like the top 10 banned books from 2024, 2025. And surprisingly, I saw, The Bluest Eye on there by Toni Morrison. Seems to cause a lot of people problems.
It comes up on a regular basis.
Yeah. And so just the fact that, we had the Heartland Book Festival, and we are in the Banned Book Week. And, it is more critical than ever that we talk about literacy and improving literacy. And so all of these things kind of play together. I think when we talk about having an uneducated population, that's what authoritarians count on. And so we want to do all that we can to offset that. So, talk to us about, your participation in the Heartland Book Festival. Got to shout out Derek Barnes for his participation. Got to get that brother on the show. But talk to us about what took place at the Heartland Book Festival today from your perspective.
Well, again, it was an event that's hosted every year. This is the third year that it has been. It was just a slate of the various authors, Derek Barnes being one of them, who I had a chance to introduce. We actually used to work together at the Kansas City Public Library. He was in outreach along with Brother Rob Love that interviewed him as part of that process. So again, it was just a day of authors in panel discussions and one-on-one interviews with various library staff and other people that were volunteering with the book festival, just to get some insight into their books. A lot of books were given away. Again, his book was available, and it was available for free, and then you got a chance to meet the author and get your book signed and all of that. So it was just that kind of atmosphere, really just kind of celebrating books and celebrating some Midwest writers and national writers, and just being able to be there with them on the ground. And I tell you, just having that conversation and hearing some of those anecdotes, and just like, one, just when you work with somebody and you don't think about the grind, because he was like, I was 34 books in before I finally got a hit. And so again, while a lot of things, people think like, well, wow, you made it, this is good, and not understanding the grind and the consistency and dedication that it takes to get to the point where you're winning national awards and you have a book deal with Penguin and things of that nature. So
right, like you said, the work that takes place when no one is looking.
Right.
And that definitely has to be a real labor of love.
Mm-hmm.
You're talking about 34 books in before you get some national recognition.
Right.
And
right.
And even when we talk about national recognition and around books, that is a different hustle. Because a lot of that, when you talk about, this book showed up on the New York Times bestseller list, and that doesn't necessarily translate to sales. That may mean just the books that were shipped, and so that doesn't necessarily mean that they sold 500,000 books. And then even within that grind, when you get some notification, you have to hustle as an author. And when you're talking about writing kids books, and if you're in some sort of a niche market, you have to really, really hustle to make ends meet. I think that's an interesting thing. Like I said, I'm sure to hear from his perspective, to talk about the kind of grind that is necessary to be a I don't know what do you call it, a working author or
right,
a paid author,
all of the above, to be
yeah.
able to really eat off of your work. And again, because one of the other questions that I asked him is, how long have you been promoting this book?
Right.
And so he's like, I've been out, back and forth around the country for the past 4 weeks, and he'll continue through mid-November, just on that track of promoting his latest book that he has out right now. So, what is it? The Incredible. Dang on, man. The Incredible Human Henson Blayze. So it's kind of set in the South. So without giving away any details, again, I thought it was interesting just with, he was talking about how he comes up with his titles and, again, merging history with hip-hop. And so the first name of the character, Henson, is named after Matthew Henson, the explorer.
Right.
And then the second part is from Method Man, one of his monikers, Johnny Blayze.
Right.
And so again, just that was another interesting piece without going into the book, because I actually haven't read it, so I don't want to. I don't want to massacre it because I just got it today.
Right.
That was one of the other interesting anecdotes that he was sharing again, and just the idea that another thing he said before he made his major breakthrough was he was trying to write like other writers and trying to do what everybody else was doing that was getting published, and it wasn't his authentic voice. And he said, one day he was in there writing, and his son came in, and well, you trying to write like this? Why don't you just write the blackest book ever? Since he was like, none of the other stuff is working. He said, and he walked out the room, and he thought about it.
Right.
And that actually led to his first breakthrough book, which was, about getting haircuts or crown. And so again, that's just speaking to, staying true to what you think. Now, again, that doesn't mean that you shouldn't take any criticism or think about, making things more palatable to audiences. But if you are at an impasse and, hey, again, stick with what got you there, or either, think about what you're true to.
Right. And so for, the Heartland Book Festival, because to be honest with you, I hadn't heard of it. And so I was trying to get some information. So this just started 2023.
This is the third year.
Yeah, a couple of years old. So just a kind of overview. Like you said, so it's just today, or was it one or 2 days?
It was yesterday and today. So yesterday was primarily hosted at the Mid-Continent Public Libraries, and today was primarily hosted at the Kansas City Public Library. So it's a combination of those two library systems, Missouri Department of Humanities, Missouri something about the book. I had just heard of that organization. So it's about 4 organizations that are working together to host this event and bring these authors, out. again, and you just find out different things. Like one of my coworkers, he owned a rare bookstore, and he was doing a presentation at this event. So again, it's that national author piece, but also you find out that the interest of why some of your coworkers are working at the library, it's not just because they wanted to do something, employment. Is because they have a deep passion for books, and that was what you saw with the audience in general, because it was packed very early. The parking lot was packed the entire day. So if you didn't get there early, you was gonna have a hard time finding a place to park.
Right.
And so everybody was excited, man. It was a good atmosphere for a reading too. So
Yeah, and that's so great to hear, because like you said, when we talk about literacy and where we're at, I know Kansas City, and we've talked about on this program many times, just in terms of the public library system and how it is in many ways a model nationally for what's taking place. But then there also has to be that interest from the community to participate in the Heartland Book Festival and take advantage of the what's being offered at these great libraries. And so it's great to hear that the community is out supporting something that is so important.
yeah, absolutely. Again, and it's a combination of a lot of work by, a lot of hard work by a lot of people to go into, a weekend like that. So again, our public affairs, office was really, really busy doing a lot of the work around there, because each speaker had somebody introducing them, and each author that is, and then the author also had someone that was gonna handle the fireside chat type situation, if you will. So again, it was a chance for that, and then also a chance for people to ask questions of each person. So
Right.
again, in these times, I think it's important to again promote reading, promote being critical and thoughtful. And again, as much as I like to read nonfiction, sometimes you do need an escape.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, to add to that, like you said, and then also some diversity in the authors that you're presenting and the stories that are being told is so important as well. And like I said, I can imagine a decade or so earlier for someone like Derek Barnes to be able to get into spaces like that was probably a little bit more difficult. So that part of it is important as well. When we talk about black and brown kids being able to see themselves in stories, it's important that we support those authors that are putting forth that effort to make sure that those stories are being told and they are being represented. So very, very cool. And like I said, Brother Derek, got to get him on the show because I think he has a cool story to tell. Like you said, coming from Kansas City, product of the Kansas City Public School District, has went on to do a lot of great things, and I think it's important for us to highlight that when we talk about changing narratives.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, graduate of Southeast High School. I went to Purcell, so that's one of our crosstown rivals.
Right.
I don't know if the rivalries are still as live as they were back in the day.
There's no way for it to be.
Right,
You talk
yeah.
about the way the field house used to be, especially when you talk about when Peeler was doing his thing.
Right. Yeah.
Those were the glory days.
Yeah, definitely. So again, just that journey, man. And I'll say, once again, you don't think about it until you see the finished product.
Right.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, man, we're actually getting close to our first break. But before we move on to another segment, this just kind of popped into my head, and just don't want to put you on the spot, but did kind of want to ask, updating our audience on what's taking place with numbers, and as you guys are doing like off-season training now, but are you still incorporating the lessons into the practice and all that kind of stuff while you guys are?
Yeah. So again, so this fall, because we've lost a lot of days, unfortunately, to rain, and now we lose a lot of sunlight. So we've restructured it this, so we're not doing it within practice because we just have a truncated amount of time, and had just a handful of practices before we start actual games playing down at the Urban Youth Academy.
Okay.
And so we're going to incorporate the tutorial component in after this short season that we'll have for fall ball. And so they'll be able to come on to the lab on the same days that we have practice and be able to take advantage of tutorial services like that. So that was just one of the small adjustments that we decided to make because we didn't really have the time. We missed so many practices just being rained out and then folks traveling that we had to just kind of think about how can we morph this into something that makes sense versus just trying to shoehorn it in to the last 5-10 minutes. Again, the other thing that we were a victim of our success, and so we now have 2 teams.
Yes.
So last year we just had one group with the coach's pitch, which was still a sizable number of kids, but now we have 2 full-on teams of 10 kids each. And so just navigating that dynamic with the splitting the age groups for the player pitch and coach's pitch was also just a new level that we had. So I'm still pleased that, we had a lot of returning players, and then we got a lot of new players on the team as well. So again, just the idea that I'm glad that we have the ability to be flexible in our container to be able to look at it like that. So.
Right. Well, cool. Like I said, I just kind of wanted to update the audience and just remind folks of that concept because, quite clearly we're moving in the fall and people are playing team sports and reminding them there are ways to work that academic portion into that time as well. But like you said, we are up against our first break. So if you're just tuning in, you are listening to 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we'll be back after this quick break.
You're listening to 90.1
Say this is some bull. hip-hop artist, and one of my favorite tracks off of that disc. So I want to welcome everyone back to the program. If you're just tuning in, you are listening to Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown. And before we went to break, we're just kind of talking about the Heartland Book Festival and some of the things that took place down there today, and then got a quick update on the Numbers baseball team and what they're doing during fall ball and working in their curriculum during their baseball practice. And so, as I talked about at the top of the program, talking about delving into the role of media and with this particular administration and everything that's going on. And, over the last couple of days, I was just thinking about it with KKFI being around since 1988 and what KKFI stands for, keeping the community fully informed, and what that responsibility actually looks like. And when you read the KKFI mission statement and its commitment to freedom of speech and diversity of voices, it's so important that, as a community, we support
and amplify
KKFI and amplify the voices here. But we that have a voice here at KKFI also have a responsibility to bring forth diverse opinions and perspectives. And like you said, in the idea of keeping the community fully informed, bringing some alternative to what you're getting in mainstream media as well.
Absolutely. Again, because just like this is a program that we do that's an hour, it's the same thing that's true for all news media. The difference is that we don't have the same corporate sponsorship tied to our programming that limits the types of things that we can say or what we can talk about or how long we can talk about it.
Right.
And so that becomes the difference. That becomes the, again, that's what makes social media platforms, liberating and balancing in, is that you can talk about what you want to talk about, and you can also have the real estate to talk about it how often or how long as you want to. So that becomes crucially important. One of the things that I appreciate about KKFI is that that everybody that's doing a show here is homegrown, and
wow.
So you get a wide spectrum of homegrown music and homegrown thoughtfulness around everything from economics to community issues, labor, that runs the gamut of things that are talked about, on KKFI. Again, my favorite show, Democracy Now!, always sheds, light on the social and political climate that we're living with. Amy Goodman and Juan Gonzalez and the host of folks over there always deliver great content on a daily basis. And again, that was one of the things that KKFI did for me, was brought that show into my atmosphere.
Yeah.
And so.
Absolutely. And we are now about 31 minutes past the hour, 5 o'clock. So if you're just tuning in, you are listening to 90.1 FM KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. And so, Brown, I've been trying to get this sound together. This is from sound from Jake Tapper and CNN reporting on Trump and his issue with free speech and his attempts to talking about pulling people's licenses and stuff like that. So we're going to pull some sound from that story, and then we'll come back with some commentary. Hold on, if I can get the sound together.
Jake Tapper. How can you lose with a name like Jake Tapper? Can you turn it up?
For network newscasts. He said it on his way back from London on Air Force One, and he repeated it just now in the Oval Office.
The newscasts are against me. The stories are they said 97% bad. So they gave me 97. They'll take a great story and they'll make it bad. I think that's really illegal, personally. When somebody is given 97% of the stories are bad about a person, that's no longer free speech, that's no longer, that's just cheating.
So he called network newscasts illegal, and it's not free speech, and it's cheating. And this is in addition to what he said on Air Force One yesterday.
I read someplace that the networks were 97% against me. I got 97% negative, and yet I won it easily. I won all 7 swing states, popular, but won everything. And they're 97% against. They give me only bad publicity, the press. I mean, they're getting a license. I would think maybe their license should be taken away.
90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. That was some sound from Jake Tapper's story on President Trump and him being upset with news coverage and talking about pulling licenses. And, you know, we've seen, and it's crazy, it hasn't even been a year since the election. But when we look at what has taken place, they started like back in February, removing people from the White House press pool. Anyone that asked questions that they didn't like, they weeded them out, and then moved folks in with questions that they did like, social media personalities, and you know, just folks that weren't really qualified. They moved them into the press pool, and you know, started to suppress everything. And then you sue ABC, you sue CBS, and then CBS is wanting to make a deal, so they do what they can to appease you and fire folks, and you know, just the dangerous, the way in which the needle has moved in less than a year.
Yeah, again, and to placate to the executive office, no less. And that's the thing, because I've been in those locations around the world where, you know, it's a true dictatorship. And you can, when you talk to the people, it's always in a defeated tone.
Yes.
And so when you have those conversations about, you know, hey, well, what do you think about the upcoming election? They're like, nah, my vote doesn't count. There's really no use. All of it is fanfare. They're going to quell the opposition. And so we might as well not even involve ourselves with that folly. As a matter of fact, I'm leaving the city come elections because I don't want to get caught up in the mayhem.
Right.
And so either it's those folks that are, you know, ardently, you know, fighting against it and then getting their head cracked, or those people that have, you know, come to the realization that things are not going to change in the short term. So let me just stand aside until this spectacle of an election is over, and then we can get back to a level of normalcy with the same people in office.
Right.
So again, and you know, again, some of the rhetoric and some of the platforms in which the president and his staff have been using to talk politics, again, is not you know, ideal and not, you know, ethical and legal in some situations. Because when he was giving his speech, you know, in front of the Navy for the 250th anniversary, and to, you know, talk about the opposition in politics as the enemy within, and they're gnats, and, you know, they need to be squashed and dealt with, you know, right here in front of the Navy. Again, are you not understanding that you're talking about American citizens?
Right. And like you said, it's a very dangerous playbook.
Yeah, and then to think that you will use the military as your backdrop when you're saying these things and making these statements about the enemy within. Again, we've had this conversation because I can remember the discourse when John McCain was in the final throes with Barack Obama, and a woman stood up and said, he's a Muslim, he's a terrorist, he's a, you know, then John McCain stepped in and said, no,
Right.
no. He's a good man, family man. He's an American citizen and cares greatly about the country, but we just happen to disagree on policy.
Right.
That's that. Let's stop it. and
that just seems like a whole other long time ago.
Right.
That's where we were with our discourse.
And again, and that's you know, part of the problem. There's no decorum, and then there's no idea that. Again, I had to have this conversation with my niece at one point when she was, you know, first getting involved in politics and was rah-rah. She was like, well, you know, if I was a Democrat and I won, I wouldn't give the Republicans anything. And I'm like, listen, this is not how it works.
Right.
Because they're still tax-paying citizens that deserve the goods and services. And so you can't just not give them anything.
You mean we can't crush them? Yeah. But, you know, I think, like you said, it's such a layered situation and conversation that we're talking about. And, you know, like you said, we're a lifetime away from that sort of mentality of McCain versus Donald Trump and what he's putting out here in the atmosphere. And like we talked about earlier, relative to the government shutdown.
Yeah.
There's blame to go around, but when you pull up the actual websites of our government agencies, there are statements like the government is shut down due to the radical left.
Yeah,
you know,
I'm gonna tell you exactly what it says on the HUD website.
Yeah, and it's like, how is this acceptable? And once again, to bring the conversation back to the role of the media and those of us who have a microphone in front of us and our responsibility, because the other side is very intentional in what they're doing.
And vocal.
Yet vocal and have no problem funding their hatred. And so when we talk about supporting organizations like KKFI, it is time for those of us who are progressive and like-minded that we put our dollars behind the things that we support in the same way. And that's really what the problem is. The one thing about it, the Koch brothers and those foundations that want to feed their perspective, that's what they do. And, you know, they always point to George Soros, you know, as the boogeyman. But I'm just like, it just doesn't seem like the radical left is committed financially
again.
as the right is.
Right. But yeah, George Soros always pops up. Again, the radical left in Congress shut down the government. HUD will use available resources to help Americans in need. And so that's what it says on the HUD website. And you know, again, when you know something that I keyed in on, you said sides. And again, I don't think this is a Democrat or a Republican. I don't even think this is so much so a political, you know, because it doesn't have anything to do with campaigns. We're talking about economics. We're talking about people's salaries. We're talking about people's health care. And, you know, again, what I find interesting is that this administration took a sledgehammer to every social service, every government agency and organization from here to Timbuktu. When they came into office, and now all of a sudden they have compassion for people that are being laid off, that people are not getting paid during this shutdown, that still have to go to work because their job is mission critical. And there are people that take their, you know, oath and position and take their job seriously, you know, because there are definitely jobs within the military where I can't leave until you come.
Right, exactly.
Until somebody comes and gets me, it's too critical. I cannot leave.
Right.
And so, again, there's people in those positions, in those government positions where it's mission critical that they stay there, and to play chicken with the opposition because you want to further take resources away from folks, I think is just, you know, the worst thing that you can do as a leader.
Absolutely. And man, we are up against our second break. So if you are just tuning in, you're listening to 90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we'll be back after this quick break.
Hello, Kansas City. This is Marae Rose Williams, the Kansas City Star's Assistant Managing Editor for Race and Equity Issues and radio show host and producer of Voices of Kansas City. If you've missed any of our previous episodes, KKFI will be re-airing November 5th, right here on 90.1 FM, KKFI, Kansas City Community Radio.
The Sustainability Action Network and the City of Lawrence are pleased to announce that the Drive Electric Showcase 2025 is taking place Sunday, October 12th from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the South Park on Massachusetts Street in Lawrence, Kansas. Presenting sponsors are Panasonic and Evergy.
They don't actually have
The
a
showcase
customer.
features electric vehicles including bikes, scooters, and skateboards.
What customer?
I
This
didn't
is
know
a
he
fun
actually said
day
he
with
customer
food trucks
on
and
it.
children's
Yeah, no.
activities, and is open to the public. For more details, find the event at driveelectricmonth.org.
This message is a public service of KKR.
I don't remember no.
90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and we are back and continuing this conversation around the role of media with everything that is going on with the Trump administration and how things should be reported, and bringing something to contradict what we're hearing in mainstream media, because I feel like so many stories are just not getting the level of attention that they should. And early you mentioned, and you were talking about elections and how folks can become disinterested. And one of the things is I don't think that they're planning on having either the midterm elections, declaring martial law, or finding some, something in the Constitution that was relatable in the 1800s.
Yeah,
try to
insurrection
apply it
law.
Yeah, so, to apply it to today to stop the elections. And so I want to play some sound from an interview that Gavin Newsom had on Political, where he is really, sounding the alarm about this, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
Think for a second, I have 24 Trump 2028 hats. His folks keep sending me.
And you think he's going to run again?
Who spends $200 million on a ballroom at their home and then leaves the
Right.
house? This is serious, guys. This is serious.
So it'll be Newsom Trump in 28.
No, this guy doesn't believe in free, fair elections. He tried to wreck this country. Were you there, January 6th? I think Fox was. At least they weren't a lawsuit. They seemed to have lost any memory of that. Shareholders didn't. He tried to light democracy on fire. He dialed for 11, almost 12,000 votes. Now he's doing it in plain sight. And people say, oh, just Trump being Trump. People actually think this guy's serious about having another election? You think he's joking about 2028? You think when he brings foreign leaders to the Oval Office and he goes to the White House store, have you seen this? Anyone? Is it just me? And he shows them the 2028 hats. He's not being serious. Wake up. You will lose your country. Again, it's not about Democrats. It's about all of us.
So you're absolutely convinced he's
I'm absolutely
2028.
You've seen it.
They still think it's a
He's trying to steal
joke.
the last election. He's trying to rig it in plain sight this time. He wants to get rid of vote by mail. He's talking about eliminating voting machines he doesn't like. He's setting up the contours where he can declare a declaration of emergency for anything. Just cause means whatever he just said on Truth Social. He's running the greatest grift operation in world history. It makes some of these dictators overseas blush, the crypto.
Right.
Not just the perfume. Come on.
Let me ask you about a couple of your...
Wake up, everybody. Wake up.
Let me ask you about a couple...
Excuse me, and I know it's impolite. We have to be more calm and demure.
Couple of your...
but I'm not calm, and I'm not going to submit myself to niceties.
Yeah.
Not when this guy's trying to
Play
wreck
the whole
our
thing
goddamn
down.
country.
So
I don't think Donald Trump wants another election.
90.1 FM KKFI Kansas City Community Radio. This is Changing Narratives with Brother Jay and Brother Brown, and that was some sound from interview with Governor Gavin Newsom from California with Politico, where he is literally sounding the alarm about this administration and their attempts to usurp democracy. Like you said, acting like they're joking about this 2028, but it's like, no, they're not.
And it was interesting just the entire time the person interviewing Gavin Newsom kept trying to bring levity to the moment, and he's like, no, this is not a joking matter. This is not my time to shine.
Right.
This is, you know.
and to your point, like he said, this is not about Democrat or Republican. You know, this is about losing our country.
Yeah.
And just the boldness with how they're operating. When we talk about, you know, having a UFC fight at the White House.
Yeah. Again, it was one day before the statute of limitations was going to expire for them to try to indict James Comey. Mm-hmm. And so they had, you know, Adam Schiff on the list and a host of other folks that they're planning on indicting on charges. And again, they indicted Letitia James for mortgage fraud. And so again, you know, they asked him, are you going to go after your political enemies? And he, no. Mm-hmm. But here we are. And he's outright said that, you know, folks, his political enemies should be jailed for talking about him.
Yes, and like you said, and no outcry around this sort of language.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm sure a lot of it has to do with because there's so many other fires, you know, that people are dealing with. When we talk about what is the bloodbath that is going to take place with Medicare and Medicaid at the beginning of the year. Mm-hmm. You know, I mean, it's going to be a cold winter. But like you said, when we're talking about our responsibility and the things that we should be reporting and talk about, we should be trying to cover as much as we can. Mm-hmm. And like you said, not necessarily bring levity, but bring some attention and sound the alarm.
Again.
You know?
Yeah, and to be crystal clear, you know, again, another statement that was made was we're going to go after those Democratic states. We're going to go after those Democratic agencies. Like, you know, what is a Democratic agency?
Right.
Again, there's no such thing as a purely Democratic state because, again, like you have the state of Missouri. You have a Democratic Kansas City, a Democratic St. Louis, a purple Springfield, if you will, maybe. And then, you know, the rest is, you know, somewhat blue. Right. I mean, red. And so, again, you know, outside of states like Wyoming and, you know, that are not highly populated, you're going to have, you know, 40-50%. It'll be 52-42 Democrat to Republican in a state. So really show me how this meets itself out. And I guess that's collateral damage.
Well, and I think more importantly, creating this completely adversarial relationship among Americans and normalizing this crush whoever doesn't have your political ideology.
Right.
They no longer have the right to have jobs or
their
health care. Exactly. The dehumanization. And, you know, it's not just, you know, being alarmist to compare this to what they did in Nazi Germany.
Yeah.
This is exactly how
or Rwanda.
Or Rwanda. Where you change people's mindsets and dehumanize the folks that you said were your enemy, and then you can do anything to them.
Yeah.
Like come and snatch them out of their beds in the middle of the night and zip tie little kids, and folks are standing there looking at that like that's okay.
Again, and so we get you comfortable with it with the population that you deem as less immigrants, and then so now the next group is going to be the opposition party. So we've set the stage for you to be comfortable with them being zip tied and hauled away without justice, due process, and so then you're comfortable with that. And again, you know, ideally we would hope that people would think a little bit more, and then just even from what I'm seeing, you know, and what I take in, in my feeds, I am seeing where there's a large swatch of Republicans voting people that realize, wow, this wasn't a good deal.
Right.
You know, the soybean
Yes.
farmers, I'm seeing something every other day from a soybean farmer about
Yes.
what's, you know, hey, you know, I was selling at least 60 to 80%. Now I'm selling zero.
Yes.
And, you know, you're painting it like China painted us into a corner to make. No, you made
did
the
this.
decision.
Yes, you did this.
And again, so the cattle farmers and whatnot. So you're seeing them being vocal about not getting a fair shake in this Donald Trump economy.
And even when we talk about Wall Street.
Yeah.
And the way in which, you know, they have attempted to prop, you know, this administration up, and, you know, the stock market is on a sugar high. You know, we're gonna deregulate everything and all that kind of stuff, and then just with one simple statement.
100% tariffs on China.
He undone all of the games.
Yeah, so that's literally what they said about last week. They had a great week on Wall Street. Everybody had gains, and then he come out 100% tariffs on China on Friday, and then wiped out the entire week's gains.
Yes.
Literally.
Yes, and like you said, and spending all of this time trying to bully Norway into giving him the Nobel Peace Prize while you sat idly by while, you know, thousands of people have been killed and murdered, you know, but you deserve the Nobel Peace Prize.
Right, right.
But like you said, just the ridiculousness of so much of it, and our obligation to cover it honestly and openly. And, you know, that's what we're going to continue to do. And so, man, we are now about 6 minutes before the hour of 6 o'clock. Want to encourage everyone, please stay tuned at the top of the hour for Roots Wise Reggae. Going to be a great, great program. Rock and Donna always brings some great music on Saturday evening. So want to encourage everyone to stay tuned at the top of the hour. We are about to get up out of here. We, of course, want to encourage you to check us out next week. And also to go to the archives. Go to archive.kkfi.org. Put in Changing Narratives. You can check out our previous programs. You know, we're trying to bring you guys quality program here. And so I want to thank you guys for tuning in. But if you have, you know, if you didn't catch us in some prior weeks, go to the archives at KKFI and check us out. So, Brother Brown, anything before we get up out of here?
Oh, just to really, you know, if you have, you know, again, those algorithms can be, you know, havoc on your thought process. But we really need to take the time to make sure that we're listening to all sides, taking in our media, not just the media that they feed us based off of the last 10 things that I watched. It's important to know what the quote-unquote opposition is talking about, what the quote-unquote allies are talking about. And also, again, I encourage people to look at this American experiment from an international lens. So don't just look at what's happening in America from American journalist perspective. Pull up a news agency from the UK. Pull up a news agency from Europe or from any other country other than the United States and see what they're saying about what's happening in the United States from an international perspective. So
yes. Absolutely, and like you said, that's so super important to expand. And you know, in these times where we have access to so much information, there's no excuse for not being informed.
Yeah, don't get caught in your own echo chamber.
yeah, because and I mean, it really and truly is a choice. So once again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in to another program. Man, we are going to be moving into our fall pledge drive soon. We are looking for pledge champions. Changing Narratives is looking for a pledge champion. And like I said, this is an opportunity for you guys to put your money where your mouth is and support organizations and programs that are on the airwaves that are bringing you and keeping you fully informed. So I want to encourage everyone to think about that. Go to kkfi.org for more information on how you can support. So please stay tuned at the top of the hour for Roots Wise Reggae. We're going to get up out of here. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Hi, I'm Russ Simmons. And I'm Susan Sanders.